The world of technology is constantly evolving.
Hello, good evening, everyone. You're welcome back to this session. And you're welcome back to this session.
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in the University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
I'm currently a motion graphics designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new ground and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folu Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register via the link on your screen right now.
Right? My camera always doing me anyhow. Have we started class? Are we ready? The most unserious teacher in the world. I'm asking if we're ready. Hi, good evening, everybody. Is everybody ready for class today? That's my question now. I hope everybody's ready for class. Let's be sure everybody's ready. Yeah. Roll call. Where are my favorite people? Yeah. Coming to class. Good evening. Don't mind me. It's nothing. Good evening. Hope everybody is doing all right. This is the last class. This is our last class this week. I hope you guys are going to miss me because I'm going to miss you guys so much. At least just for a few, just for a week plus or so. But like I said, everybody come in before we start. Good evening. How has everybody's week been? What have we been up to? What have we been writing? What have we put together? Give me the gist before we start. Give me the gist. I want to hear the gist. How has everybody's week been? Come on. Tell me. How has everybody's week been? What have we been doing? Up and grateful. It's night, Sha. So we supposed don't be up and grateful since. But it's good to have you guys here. Not teaching yesterday was kind of weird. I came home and I was like, I'm not teaching today. That's strange. Oh, well, it's good, Sha. It's good. Funny though. Yesterday I decided to go out. I went out and I had karaoke nights. So I did that. That was pretty fun and embarrassing at the same time. But yeah, we're getting ready today. I just want to make sure everybody's ready for class. before we start.
The world of technology is constantly evolving, which means there's always an opportunity to learn and grow.
My name is Oyebode Esther. I studied religious studies at the University of Ibadan.
My name is Ifeoluwa. I studied cell biology and genetics in University of Lagos, after which I got a job working in the bank.
My name is Regina Taiwo. You wouldn't believe I studied architecture in school.
I knew there was more, so I decided to take a leap. Currently, I am a product designer and a product manager.
So I'm currently a motion graphics designer.
Presently, I am a data scientist and an AWS cloud engineer.
I understand that being a lady is not a disadvantage, so I embrace tech.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
And I am thriving as a Texas.
Now I can say I'm a thriving Texas.
Are you ready to break new ground and join the world of tech? The Ladies in Tech Africa initiative is a commemorative bootcamp in honor of our visionary, Pastor Mrs. Folú Adeboye, as we join her in thanking God for her 76th birthday celebration. This program is designed to help you make your career shift a reality. Registration is open and you can register.
Guess who's back? Sorry for the small breaking connection. We're about to start class now, so I just want to make sure everybody is ready. So today is day 3. We're going to be talking about storytelling techniques and then writing on different platforms. It's good to have you guys along. As you all know by now, my name is Oladipo Lawson. I'm going to be your tutor for today, and we're going to have a very wonderful time today talking about storytelling techniques and then writing on different platforms. So the way I broke this week's class down, I separated everything into different pieces just to make sure that everybody is able to understand what they need to understand when they need to understand it. And for the last part of this week's class, we're going to talk about storytelling techniques and then writing for different platforms. Everything flows. Don't worry, you guys know how I teach now. We'll get into it. You'll see how it flows and you see the through line. So before we start, let's quickly just talk about what we learned last week. So not last week, yesterday. No, Tuesday, sorry. What we learned on Tuesday, we talked about somebody remind me what we talked about. Let me see if everybody is following on the charts. What did we talk about yesterday? Sorry, Tuesday. I keep making that mistake. What did we talk about on Tuesday? I'm not going to wait for long though. Somebody drop the answer quickly. There we go. I like the sharp people in this group chat. Yes, so we talked about different writing tones, grammar, and punctuation. So for the different writing tones we talked about formal, informal. We talked about uplifting. We talked about somebody give me one that we talked about. One of the different writing tones we talked about. And then what was the best way we learned how to use grammar? How do you learn? What's the best way to learn about? I can see you guys. Yeah, you guys are A students. Everybody just providing me with what I taught them. It's very nice. Then somebody tell me what's the best way to learn how to write in your grammar. What's the best way to learn how to write? What's the best way to learn your grammar and punctuation? What's the best way? Did I tell you guys the best way? I'm sure I told you guys like 3 or 4 different ways, but there's the best way, the easiest way to learn grammar and punctuation. Come on, keep practicing. Yes, the best way is to read. Yes, aha, that's incredible. That's incredible. You guys are incredible. Just round of applause for all of you. You guys are the best, and it shows you guys are following along, because that's what's important. Following along and understanding. So let us get into today's class. So for today's class, we're going to be talking about writing fundamentals, but not this week. For this week, remember we talked about writing fundamentals. We talked about writing style and tone, grammar and punctuation, storytelling techniques, and then finally we're going to talk about writing for different platforms: web, social media, print. Like I promised, I was going to bring on one of the articles I've written. Well, not articles anyway. It's an article, but it will cover at least writing for media, print, and social media, to cover writing on the web and print. It's an article that I wrote a while ago. I wanted to bring it on just so that you guys could see a bit of what I'm talking about. It's not just about, teaching and telling. It's not just about telling. Sometimes you have to show, right? So we're going to go over some of them. So for today's lesson, on day 3, we are talking about storytelling techniques. So in this section, you understand the wonderful intricacies of crafting a great story. You also learn about the foundation of storytelling. Then you learn about the different platforms you write on and how best to write on them. Now, for the last part, I crafted it in such a way that it's not just like telling. I can't give you like a through line on how best to write on different platforms, right? I can't just tell you write exactly like this, because I wouldn't be teaching you, I'd be telling you. So I've come up with a few pointers that if you keep in mind when you're writing, you will be able to write fluently on different platforms. So let's start because time is fast spent. So in today's lesson, we'll look at the fundamentals of writing, starting with storytelling techniques, and then how to write on different platforms. That's what we're doing. So let's get straight into it. For today, let's start with storytelling techniques. So one thing that I want all of you to remember, because I have to ask, I'm going to ask this question, and I think, let me not give away now, but I have to ask this question. How many of us why did we choose to become writers? That's the best question to ask. Let me see what you guys are coming up. I like the people that are you guys can hear everything up NEPA already. All right. So to that, like I was saying, I want to ask a simple question. Why do we choose to become writers? I'll ask everybody that question, then I'll give you my answer, and then we'll move on. But why did you guys choose to become writers? Just one or two answers, and then I'll explain why I chose to become a writer. Okay. To understand myself better, your passion. Writing chose you. Okay, I like the person that said that writing chose them. That's nice. To express my writing was the best way for me to express my emotions, because I'm really introverted. I can see that. I like to express myself through my words. That makes sense. I honestly don't know why. Okay. So that is really great. You guys have very good reasons for becoming writers. As for me, why did I become a writer? It was something that was just always there with me. I always liked writing, not to a very high extent, but I always liked putting my thoughts down. So writing was a very obvious extension, and it was something that everybody could do. No, not everybody could do, but it was something I knew I could do. So I just kind of flew into it. But the one thing I want to say is, and because we're talking about storytelling techniques, I really wanted to tell us about the human experience. Now, history, everything we know about the human experience, everything we know about it, being a person, the life we live, the city we live in, everything we know about it, we know because it was tied to a great story. Whether we were, now, not things they teach you in school that they force you to know, not the stuff they force you to know, not the stuff that they drill into your head, whether it's physics, it's maths, it's economics, whatever it is, that's not it. Whatever we know, the things that when taught to us, they just kind of became a part of you. Now, all of those things are because of a great story. Most of the things we know in life, the things we know true, whether it's our religion, our way of life, the way we express ourselves, the kinds of foods we eat, they're all because somebody told a good story. The human race wouldn't be alive today if somebody didn't tell a good story. And you might think, "Whoa, that seems very far-fetched," but it's the truth. We learned how to protect ourselves from wild animals, from bad bad food, poisonous food, from dangers, all of it because somebody told somebody about it. But it wouldn't stick if somebody didn't tell a story about it. So think of early man and the cave paintings. The cave paintings, it's a story. If all the earliest cave paintings of man chasing animals down, the way they showed their own story. Now, at the time, they didn't have the complex structures that we have, like writing, to express and tell themselves things. But they could paint and they could use sign language, and eventually it developed into a language. So we wouldn't be here today if somebody didn't know how to tell a great story, to advise, to protect, just to make sure that all of us were safe. And that's what we are as a society. Whether you are, let's go into politics a little bit, whether you are voting for somebody or you're not, most of the time it is because the story of this person, you like their life story, or you like what they stand for. And how do you know what they stand for if they don't sell it to you in a very specific way that makes you love them so much? Yes, there are times where you want to say, okay, let's make a change, fine, but nothing comes without a good story. Nothing. You can even use religion as the best example. If you go through the Bible is like a collection of stories. When we were young, the Bible was designed as a storybook, but that is a good chunk of what it is. It's stories that have been passed down from person to person and then was finally written down. So we're going to learn how to craft a compelling narrative that captivates your audience and holds their interest. All throughout what we've been doing this week, I've taught you about writing structures, I've taught you about word choice, I've taught you about syntax, I've taught you about all these things. I've given you the whole structure that you use to write. I've taught you about writing styles. Now I'm going to teach you about the intangible parts. Writing styles had a good intangible part about it, but storytelling techniques have very strong intangible parts about them. As a writer, your primary duty is to craft a compelling narrative that captivates your audience and holds their interest. Whether you're working on a project, film, novel, engaging story or novel, engaging storytelling is essential for effectively, memorably conveying your ideas and information. I've told you as writers, you need to be able to captivate your audience. You have to hold their attention. Because like I said, as we're writers, our audience, we have to take our audience that they are like primary 5 students. They understand a great deal, but their attention is not so strong. So your ability to keep your audience's attention is very important. Now, to understand effective storytelling, let's begin with the structures of stories. Usually stories follow a 3-act structure, popularized by Seedfield. Now, let's go through what a story structure is, because you will use it whether you are writing articles, whether you are writing news, whether you are writing a movie, a script, something, whatever you're writing that people are going to be interested in reading. It has to not necessarily follow this 3-act structure, but it has to be compelling. And how do we make things compelling if we don't follow this structure? Because you need a structure. So let's continue. Now, the foundations of storytelling. The setup or exposition. This is the beginning part. This is the part that we'll most use as content writers. This is where you introduce characters, the setting, and their challenges. Even if you are not telling a story or you're not writing an article about people, places, people and the way they interact with themselves, or people and the way they interact with places. When you're writing a piece of content, you have to give some setup. If you're writing a review, of a laptop, for example, you have to give some setup to it. So that's your introduction. You have to piece it in a way that will let the reader know that you are going to give them a lot of information that is useful to them, but you're going to do it in a very entertaining way. Then you have rising action or confrontation. This is where the problem escalates and the characters face bigger challenges. Now, the falling action or resolution, the characters now have solved their problems and achieved their goals. So there's a 3-act structure that goes on in anything you're writing. So let's take content or an article, for example. There's a 3-act structure you will use. You have your introduction, you have your body, and your ending. So in this place, now we've just used a lot of elaborate English to explain it, but it's the same thing. Setup and exposition. You're giving the introduction, you're explaining things for them. Then rising action and confrontation, that's the body. This is where you keep the audience. And then falling action and then the resolution, the end. Now, when learning methods of storytelling, it's important to understand these key elements necessary to successfully narrate a story, whether it's a presentation or a blog. You have to follow at least this 3-act structure. You have to have a kind of, people have to know where you're going at the beginning. They don't know the whole way you're going, but they have to know where you're going to. The middle part is now you showing them where they're going to. They need to know where they're going to. They have to see it. This is where we're going to. Then there has to be the process of getting there. And then any good story must have an end. Anything you're writing must end. There must be a conclusive end. Whether you're talking about a movie, whether you're talking about news, there must be a conclusive end to it. Either you're ending it in a way that leads your readers to wait, to expect more, or you give your readers a full conclusion that makes everything complete. There must be an ending. Now, let's continue. So these are the fundamentals we must learn. There's a central plot. Now, this is along the lines of those that write stories, because as a content writer, you will write a lot. You ghostwrite, you write about the news, you write novels, you will write a lot. So there are a lot of storytelling techniques that we must follow. The first one, central plot. The central plot is the heart of your story, the spine that supports the entire narrative structure. It isn't just a chronological sequence of events, but an intricately woven tapestry of cause and effect relationships. Nope. Some things must make me laugh. But let's get the point across. It's not just a chronological sequence of events. It's an intricately woven tapestry of cause and effect relationships. Whenever you are writing, especially when you're writing a narrative story, something must happen for another thing to happen. Nothing just happens outside of the blue. If something happens outside of the blue, don't worry, you're not late. Just follow along. You understand. If something happens out of the blue that hasn't been set up somewhere else, then you're kind of missing the point of your writing, because then you just carve it's like it's imagination to the person, and you just keep dropping different points. There must be a cause and effect. I stab somebody, the person is either going to die, get rushed to the hospital, get injured. You can't stab somebody and then in the next paragraph, the person is fine and all right. No, it doesn't work like that. Cause, effect. Something must happen for something else to happen. An effective plot isn't solely about creating a logical flow, but also about skillfully integrating various story elements like characters, conflicts, and themes in a way that feels organic and immersive. It should stimulate the audience's curiosity, enticing them to predict future events and stirring their emotional engagement. A central plot is the whole, as they said, is the spine. It's a grammar pop. Yeah, that's it. The central plot is the spine. It holds everything together. It's the framework. It is the skeleton of your narrative. It is the skeleton, the central plot. Most of the time, your central plot will be in your head first. You come up with it in your head. Then you write it down. Then you build from there. But you have to have a central plot. What are we talking about? That's the main thing. You can feed it into all the different kinds of writing you get into. What are we talking about? Are we talking about love? Okay, if we're talking about love, what is the central plot? Who are the people involved in it? And what is supposed to happen? Are we talking about finding love in unexpected places? Are we talking about finding love in heartbreak? Are we talking about not finding love at all? That's part of life. So you have to know what you're talking about. If you take anything from central plot, it is, what are we talking about? Let's move to the next one. After that, we have, after that, moreover, the plot should resonate with the readers on a fundamental level, allowing them to empathize with the characters' dilemmas, hopes, and fears. These are like very complicated parts. Can you take? If you don't understand anything of what we're talking about with central plot, just understand that central plot essentially means, what are we talking about? That's it. What are we talking about? Can talk about different things, but you have to have one thing you're talking about. Then you can spread from there, but you have to have one thing, right? Moreover, your plot should resonate with the readers. Depending on what you're writing, the readers should be able to know what you're talking about. They should not be lost in the beginning, except you want to lose them in the beginning and find them at the end. But if you lose your audience in the beginning, they're not going to find you at the end. You're gone. It's only you that is writing what you're writing. So you have to keep your audience in the beginning. And for something to resonate with them, they have to be able to at least empathize with you. So as a copywriter now, when you're trying to get your audience to engage, these things are key. There must be empathy. They must feel or understand what you're talking about. And they must feel for you. If you're trying to get them to pity you, there must be something to pity. If you're trying to get them to be angry with you, there must be something to be angry about. That's where the emotion comes in. The subject matter. The subject matter is what are we talking about? It's the subject matter. I've just framed it in a different way. Let's continue. So, key characters. The key characters are pillars around which the narrative orbits. Dreams, struggles, choices, and transformation are the crux of your story. Serving as the audience emotional anchor. An effective character isn't a two-dimensional archetype, but a multifaceted entity with distinct personality traits, backgrounds, motivations, and flaws. I've said a lot, but it is important to understand your characters. And I'll bring it down to the most basic parts. If you are writing a story and the audience cannot form an attachment to your main character, then that story is not really going to sell, because people have to be able to see themselves, at least shades of themselves, in your character, especially your main character. Except you're dealing with an ensemble cast where there are like 3 or 4 different main characters and all of them kind of push the story along, which is difficult to do, but not impossible. Sometimes it's best to deal with one main character and have side characters around your main character. But in the main, your main character has to be the one the audience identifies with. He's the one your audience identifies with. He's the main reason for the story. Pardon me. He's the main part of your story. So when you're dealing with your main character, it's an effective, the main character, sorry for almost dulling around. Your main character has to be the part that everybody finds parts of themselves in. That's why they said he has to be multifaceted. It can't just be a one-trick pony. It can't be one-directional. When you're talking about your main character must be, everybody has to be able to see. So you won't have the whole audience following along with that one main character, because the whole part of that main character isn't in them. But they should be able to see parts of themselves in him. Oh, he makes mistakes. All of us make mistakes. Your main character is very confident. Not everybody is very confident, but there are a good number of people that are very confident. Do you get? Character should evolve in response to their circumstances, challenging character should evolve in response to their circumstances, challenging their own beliefs and values, leading to personal growth or decline. Your character can either become a better person or become worse. When you're following along with a character, when you're creating a character, great stories are inhabited by characters that echo real-life complexities, contradictions, thereby fostering the audience's identification and emotional investment. In essence, what I'm saying is, for your main character to sell, people must be able to identify with him. And your main character, except he's a superhero, and even if he's a superhero, nowadays, if you watch superhero movies, they try to humanize their characters. They try to give them real problems. They try to initiate inner conflict within them, because all of us, at some point in our lives, feel some inner conflicts. All of us as human beings, were a bag of contradictions. I always say it. We're standing for one thing today, moving along with the other thing tomorrow. That's how we are. So even when you're designing your character, there have to be some kinds of contradictions within them. Because when met with a hard choice, it's those contradictions that we push out who the real person is, and he now has to make a choice. I know I've done a lot of explanation here, but it's a key part. Your character must have depth, along with the side characters. Everybody can't just be the best explanation for your main character is they are a mirror, not a window. You don't look through the main character. You don't look through characters. Characters are a reflection of us. That's the best explanation I can give. Main characters aren't mirrors, aren't windows. They are mirrors, because they allow us to look at ourselves and see parts of ourselves in them. Simple. Let's look at narrative perspective. There's a lot we're going to get through, so we are going to have to move not quite fast, but move along. So the narrative perspective or point of view plays a pivotal role in shaping your story's tone, mood, and overall structure. Now, remember what I talked about. We talked about tone, and tone can be a reflection of mood, right? So whatever you're writing, and who remembers how I explained writing from another point of view? And it might take a while for us to put it down, so I'll explain. Writing from another point of view, the best way to do it is to put yourselves in the other person's shoes. So when you write a story, or you write something that requires other people's perspective, you first put the first perspective, your own perspective, what you saw. Then you imagine what the other person saw. So I always use a good example of this is a very good example of this is looking at a car crash. Now, if you put yourself in the point of view of the car crash, if you are at the end of the car crash, you saw the end point, what the car ended up being. You saw the car flash and then rush and then maybe it hit something. That's your point of view. You can put yourself in the driver's point of view. How did the car get into that? Now, that's where your imagination comes in. You don't know how the car got there, but you know its endpoint. So you walk backwards. You put yourself in the driver's seat and you say, oh, maybe the tire burst. And then the person tried to navigate it, but they were speeding and wham. So now you have part of the story. You know how the car got there. You just saw the car, but now you know how the car got there. Then you can see and imagine the other person's point of view, seeing outside from the driver's point of view. Simple. Oh, there was a pothole. The person sped into it, busted the tire. The driver lost control, bam, into the wall. 3 different points of view, your story. Fini. Now, each perspective offers unique benefits and limitations. For instance, the first person, this is just what I'm explaining. The first person's perspective can lend an intimate confessional tone to the story. First person perspective, the person it happened to. Using the car crash example, you are driving, you are in the car, so you're writing from the person in the car's perspective. Then, while the third person perspective allows for a more objective and panoramic view, the whole thing. Is everybody following? Because leave characters, leave plots to one side now. We're talking about narrative perspective. And this is the one you will use in everything else. In article, if you're writing an interview now, if you are interviewing the president, you get one chance, you make your recordings and you write about it. Narrative structure entails that you should have different perspective. You should come at the president from different angles. Don't come at one angle and say, the people say you're bad. Don't come from just that perspective. That should be the last perspective. The perspective everybody can see should be the last perspective. Come out from different angles. The people love you. Have you done enough to earn their love? Because you're a content writer. If you're a content or copywriter, especially a content writer, you're going to write a vast different things before you begin to specialize into one area. Even me, I've not fully specialized into one full area. I still play around in different spaces. But you have to come from different angles. And the only way to come from different angles is to think. Now, each perspective offers unique benefits and limitations, right? For instance, the first person, that's with the car, lends an intimate, confessional tone to the story, while the third person perspective allows for a more objective. You can now explain the process, what happened. You can branch off from being a content writer. Most script writers, you start from somewhere. You can start as a script writer and write scripts, but you have to start from somewhere. You can write scripts for yourself, and that will be good. But something must pay the bills before your script is bought or somebody produces your movie. So you have to start somewhere. Now, the narrative perspective can add layers of depth to your story, influence its pacing, and help highlight certain themes or character traits. Let's continue. So now, let's look at the environmental context. All of these things, they feed into the key aspects. And forget about following everything. Understand each thing for itself. Hold that one. If you don't understand anything here, just understand one first. Hold it. You can come back to it. You can watch this video later, but understand one, because it's from one that you can now branch off. All these videos are on YouTube. You can watch them on YouTube. You can watch them on YouTube. They're all there. So follow along and understand one at a time. The environment and context of your story extend beyond mere geographical or temporal backdrops. They are powerful entities that breathe life into your narrative, shaping your characters, behaviors, beliefs, and dilemmas. If you're writing about Lagos now, if you're writing about Lagos now, one of my favorite books I've read so far this year, I know it came out a while ago, but one of my favorite books I read so far this year was Everybody in Lagos is Mad. Is that the title? I think all the men in Lagos are mad. I think that's it. Something like that. This person broke down Lagos so well that you didn't have to have ever gone there to be there. It just is the way it is. You understand it, you look at it and you're like, this is Lagos. The person didn't have to tell you there's traffic on the way. The person didn't tell you about the traffic. The person told you about the hardship. When you're using a narrative backdrop in a place, don't use the obvious. Don't use the obvious. Nearly all the men in Lagos are mad. Yes, that's it. use the obvious. Everybody go and read that book. Whether you're a man or a woman, go and read that book. It's a really good book. So when you're following with a backdrop, your backdrop informs your character. Whether you're putting them through hardships, your hardships come from the place they are in. If they are inside a very good environment with great people all around them, how can there be struggles? It don't work like that. It don't work like that. So whenever you're writing about a narrative, whenever you're putting a character together, where they are from, where they are in, is key. Now, the environment serves as a mirror, reflecting societal values, norms, societal values and norms, thereby influencing characters, actions, and experiences. If you are writing about Lagos, that's why I mentioned that book. If you're writing about Lagos, don't tell us about the traffic. We already know about the traffic. Tell us about the place, the societal norms, what they value. People in Lagos value hard work, but they also value your struggle because they know what struggle is. They value hard work because they know that the people there, anybody there is working hard. Because you cannot live in Lagos and not work hard. You know, if you job. But that's Lagos. Other places are different. If you're writing about Italy now, based on the time window you're writing in, you could write about the enjoyments of life. If you're writing about Greece now, you're not writing about historical Greece, you're writing about current day Greece. You're talking about the beaches. You're talking about people going there to enjoy life. So you can't now talk about one hardworking person coming from Greece. It doesn't really fit, does it? It can, but then in a narrative case, you are now saying he's the odd one out. He was not made by this environment. But then what makes a person? This is where we talk about nurture or nature. Is it the environment that makes the person or the people within them that make it? Let's follow along. On the other hand, the context, which could be historical, social, or political, can underscore the story's theme and subtext. Furthermore, they can create constraints or opportunities for your characters, adding layers of complexity to their journeys. C'est fini? La fini? Am I speaking the same thing or am I speaking grammar? Let's know. Is everybody following? Let's continue. Now, this part here is a key to writing that all of you, everybody, should take. Start with a personal story. Now, starting your narrative with a personal story is an excellent way to establish a strong emotional connection with your audience right from the bat. If I've done it in this class. I've not told you my story, but in the beginning of this class, I also told you why I started writing. And I asked you guys to first tell me why you guys started writing so we can form a connection immediately at the beginning of the class. I've also told you guys parts of myself. I've told you I'm a weird guy. I've told you I'm an outspoken person. I'm not necessarily now because I'm not writing about myself, but I'm giving you people parts of myself so that you can form a connection to me so that when I'm teaching you, you cannot just better understand what I'm talking about, but you can better understand me and where I'm coming from. So if I do something, you'll be like, well, this is in his character because he has told us he used to behave like this. See? Or let's continue. By revealing your vulnerabilities, failures, triumphs, and insights, you foster a sense of authenticity and relatability. This one, now, this thing here that I've just explained, this beginning portion, if you are writing for people in power or people that are chasing power, follow it here. Yeah, I said I love football. See, told you guys about myself. Follow this part. If you're writing for people in power, you have to be able to humanize the people that are following, the people that want to follow them. Your leaders, you have to humanize them in a way that still makes them look heroic. Anybody that follows international politics now, Nigerian politics has a way of doing it, but its own way is kind of weird. So let's not really stick with that. But let's still follow with Nigerian politics. We're in Nigeria. Our leaders, especially the ones, especially in presidential elections, our leaders are broad, outgoing people, right? But they have the people that portray them in the media, the way we see them in the media, because usually the way we see our leaders in the media, they are not the real them. The way they are in the media is a carefully constructed person. They follow a certain narrative. This person, I can make a statement now. You guys all know who I'm talking about. Jagaban. We know who I'm talking about. I've not said his name, but that is a narrative that has come along with his story. Emikon. All of those things, they feed into the person. So humanizing your characters is an important part. So when you're trying to get an emotional, you want to establish an emotional tie with your audience immediately, start with a personal story. Even if it's not your own story, lie. You're a writer, lie. Your imagination is all lies now. Lie. Come up with a story that will get the people involved, get the people invested. That's the thing. It has to get people invested. So even if you have to lie, lie. Half of the stories that our politicians tell us about their journey to where they came from or how they got there, it's not true. He said, please, who is Jagaban? Who is the person in Aso Rock? That's all I'm going to say. So this approach invites your audience into your world, making them more invested in your narrative journey. It's essential to keep your anecdotes relevant to the story's theme or message, ensuring they contribute to the broader narrative arc, the journey. A narrative arc is the journey your hero or your character takes. So they have, again, beginning, middle, and end. It goes like that. That's the narrative arc. And adding personal stories. Hell, half of the best stories in the world that have been written come from personal perspective. Sometimes writers will attach a part of themselves into the main character. Makes it easier for them to write because nobody knows themselves. Nobody knows you more than you know yourself. So writing about at least parts of yourself in a story is an easy way. So if we're talking about characters now, let's link it back. The best way to write about a main character and get people invested, put a part of yourself in that character. When you're writing about the circumstances they will face, write how you would react in that situation. That's a good way to go as a starter. Then you can grow from there and then use your imagination to create wholly different characters. I know writers that cut just different facets of themselves into the story and into their different characters to make it easy to write. We're multifaceted, aren't we? There's different sides of ourselves that we show to different people. We don't show all of ourselves to everybody. So use those parts to craft a story, craft a character. Oh, good. Let's continue. 6. This is going to take us a while. Craft a climactic star moment. So, what is a star moment? Something they will always remember. Star. Something they will always remember. Something they will always remember moment is the high point of your narrative. The dramatic climax that leaves a lasting impression on your audience. It could be a plot twist, a character revelation, a powerful image, or a profound statement. I don't make profound statement tire for our class. So for now, where they follow, come and fire off some of those profound statements. Anybody that remember, even if it's one I've told you people today, there's a reason for it. Crafting a compelling star moment is about understanding your audience emotions and expectations in that moment, and then surpassing them in unexpected ways. In that moment, your ability as a writer to understand your audience in that moment is what will allow you craft your star moments, something they will always remember. That moment, if you have their headspace, if everybody is in the most tense place, everybody is tense, they're like, oh my God, is this person dead? Have they killed this person? And then bam, the person is alive. Poof, you've blown them away. so long as it fits in the narrative. You wrote it in a way that allows people to believe the character is also dead or alive. They are not sure. They saw the character jump into the water. He was shot. He fell into the water, but they didn't shoot him in his chest. They shot him in his hand. It's possible he's alive. And then at the end of the movie, the person comes back and is like, I've been the one pulling all the strings. You've caught everybody's attention. They should just give you your award now. They just give you the Oscar. You wrote it. There we go. So that is crafting a climactic star moment. Even when you're writing an article, make sure you get to the high points. If you're writing about people's lives, I've had the opportunity to write about the people that live in Makoko. We were trying to get a grant for them. Somebody was trying to get a grant that way so that they could help train the kids in that place. And when we were writing about it, you have to initiate that emotion. We had to explain the situation for the people and how those people live, just to keep the people's attention. And then finally, we explain this our solution we're bringing is the high point, because we're going to help these people. And this is how we want to help these people. You've gotten it right there. Pam. Am I speaking or am I not speaking? Have I lost you? Have I found you? Where are you? Let me bring you to where we need to go. I hope everybody is following. We're coming up to our break, and I have to emphasize 3 things before we get onto our break. Say not Indian movies. Indian movies follow those plots too. All those they are tan 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 tan, all those sounds they make is because they are leading you to where they want you to go. So we're going on a break soon. Remember, take your attendance. It's important. And then come ready to learn again. Let's continue. Still have a bit of a way to go. Okay. Storytelling applied in the real world. Storytelling techniques aren't only for public speaking or celebrities, public speakers or celebrities. The most effective methods of storytelling will help you in your daily life. Now, here are some of the ways we use these narrative techniques when giving a presentation. All of us, at least, let me speak for myself now. To finish from university, I had to do my project defense. Even if it was not some big presentation, I had to speak to. Where did I lose you? Just write where I lost you. When we get to the question and answer section, write it down where I lost you. Put it down in the question and answer section. Attendance has not been set yet. We're not on a break. Wherever I lost you, just write it down. Then we'll come back when we're doing question and answer section. But like I was saying, I had to give my defense. And while there wasn't a board in front of me, I still had to present to the people I was defending to. Now, when you're able to give a very good story, sometimes even if you're lying, oh, this part is not true, but the narrative, they are following along. They enjoy what you're saying. Is the point. That's the truth. If somebody enjoys what you're telling them, you can tell them anything and they will believe you, so long as they're enjoying it. That's why the best lies are the ones that everybody can enjoy. Now, when you're trying to engage and attract clients, you're going to weave a narrative. As a copywriter, talk about the origin of your company, the sacrifices your team had to make to create the right product. When you want to sell something, you must elicit emotion. I had no shoes. Who is this person? This person right here, I had no shoes. You want to sell something, you want to get your way. I had no shoes. That thing got that man the presidency. I will not lie to you. But that's part of effective storytelling. Do you know what it means? That you are on the cusp of becoming the president and you tell people you had no shoes. Can you imagine the narrative around that, to say it, and then in that situation, they're like, oh, he's about to be the greatest person in our country and he's telling you where he came from. Even if that story was a lie, all of us believed it, didn't we? It's important. As a writer, you have to be able to pull these things, pull your audience in. Now, when you can pull them in, as a copywriter here, when you're able to pull your audience in, you can come up with quick, snappy slogans. I had no shoes is a slogan, and for the time, it worked. Let's continue. You people are understanding it. Seeing you guys put things in the comments means that you're understanding and the ideas are coming into your head. It's not me that said I had no shoes. Somebody wrote it in the comments. That's because you're understanding what I'm talking about. Do you get it? Understand. In this higher class, I've said it before, and while I'm teaching you, I don't really necessarily need you to cram everything I'm saying. Understand it, because when you get to write by yourself, you won't need the cram things. You won't be remembering the cram things. You're trying to remember other points in your head. You won't remember what you crammed. You remember what you understood. And if you can really understand one thing, you can build from there. I had just one pair of jeans and a top for all my interviews. You guys are getting it. You guys are getting it. Let's continue. We need to finish this section so that we can go on a break. If you're writing on a blog, share some of your failures. A personal blog, share some of your failures, how they affected your professional and personal life, and how you managed to bounce back. I won't lie to you. When I first started writing professionally to Aspire work, the person that hired me was like, this guy, what thing they do you? You sure say that this thing you won't do? But he was willing to give me a chance, and he kept on with me, and we kept going and going and going and going and going. And before you knew it, bam, we had worked together for over a year. But it also was because there was a willingness for me to learn. And that's one thing you have to learn as a writer. You don't know it. No matter how good you are, you can't always know it, especially when you're writing for clients. These are the nuggets that come out that are not part of the lesson. No matter how good of a writer you are, no matter how you can craft narrative, craft words, you're a word wizard, all of this. Art is subjective and writing is an art. And it depends on who is reading it. If the person that you are writing for doesn't like what you're writing, and you cannot change to bend to what they want. This now, we're talking about getting the bills paid. We're not talking about for creative conviction. We're talking about getting the bills paid. If you don't follow instruction and you don't learn when they tell you this thing, you didn't do it well, but we'll let you pass, don't do it again, and you do it again, I'm not saying anything. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. But it's important. You have to be able to follow instruction. As a beginner, following instruction is important. It's subjective. Everybody's not going to like it, but everybody's going to want it to get to a certain standard. So you have to work with standards as writers. Work with standards. Have a specific place. Don't go below that. All right. Product launch. This is the final bit. In a lighter vein, talk about how this product would have changed your life had it existed a few years. In this thing now, these parts we're not teaching you about just direct writing now. Because sometimes as a writer, your work won't be about always writing. As a copywriter, some days you will come into the office if you work in the advertising sector, some days you will come into the office, you guys will not write. You will just start firing things off your head. So sometimes it's not just about cramming the knowledge, just understand it. Am I speaking? What is happening? We're about to go on a break. It's 8 o'clock. So let's talk about, let me show you what we're talking about after this. We're talking about how to now write on different platforms. But before that, we're about to go on break. Attendance, very important. LMS, I hope you guys have signed up to the Canvas. Sign up, check your email, check your spam folder, check your junk, check your promotions. Follow up, come on Canvas, because I'm going to start sending you guys assignments. So follow. I want you guys to get this thing. We'll come back after. Let's go on a quick break. But please, just understand first, then the rest will come. Like I said, we're going on a break. LMS is important. Follow up with the LMS. Canvas, check your email for Canvas, check your email for LMS. And then attendance is coming up. Please take attendance. It's important. We need to know who is here and who is learning. If you are not learning, then you can just be going. But hey, follow up, take attendance, check the LMS platform. I'm going to give you assignments. Aside from your battery is low, take attendance now and then charge your phone later or something. But if your phone has died, come back, watch the video, come for next week's class. Yeah, I got a mail from Canvas. Yes, that is the platform. Take attendance. Go on the LMS. Attendance is coming up now. I could be calming down. Oh God, let me calm down actually. But yeah, like I said, it's break time. Take attendance, work on the LMS platform. It's important. Then we'll continue afterwards. Right? LMS, learning management software. I think that's it. Right? Let's get on that. Let's get on that. You guys enjoy your class, enjoy what you're doing. Let's go on a quick break.
Hi, amazing students. I hope you are all doing very well and I hope you've been enjoying the class since the start of this program. Kindly pay attention to the following announcements as you take your attendance. Attention, please kindly check your mails and accept your Canvas invites as soon as possible. Completing this step is essential to ensure you have access to all course materials, assignments, and future class updates. This is very important because once the invite expires, it cannot be reissued. No excuses like, I didn't see it on time, will be accepted. Failure to accept may result in missing crucial information and activities. You are expected to join the Canvas because it is the learning management system. It is the platform whereby you will be graded and then your CA, continuous assessment, will be carried out on. Assignments will be done and submitted via Canvas. Selection of successful candidates who will get certificates will be done through Canvas. So you need to be en- enrolled on the learning management system through Canvas. So let's all do well to check our mails and you know be ready to get the certificates. Be ready to finish this course and finish well. So I hope you all have an amazing time learning. We'll be going now and just do well to do as you have heard. Thank you very much.
We back. We're back in action. All right, glad to have you guys back. I hope everybody has taken their attendance. I hope everybody has um, submitted attendance, right? Attendance. We're back. Are we good? Are we good? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Let's say we're back in class. I'm here. I'm here. All right. All right. Let's get into it. So before we keep going, I think I kind of went up here. Let me come down to at least somewhere. This is a more stable location. But I think everybody's ready. Are we all ready? Are we ready? Are we done with attendance? All right. Okay. So we're talking about writing on different platforms now. I've told you how to weave a narrative. I've told you how to read a story, how to weave a story, how to put a narrative together. Now we're going to talk about writing on different platforms. So there are the different platforms you can write on. You can write on the web, as on the internet. You can write on social media. You can write on prints. You can write documents. You can write speeches. There's so many places and platforms to write on that if we listed all of them, we wouldn't have taught you anything. We have just taught you about the different platforms, right? Now we're trying to teach you how to write on these different platforms. So no audio can if there's no audio, I'm guessing is on from your own end. Though. All right. So let's begin. Let's start talking about the different platforms and how to write on them. So one of the key tenets for writing on different platforms is knowing your audience. The first thing you need to know is who you're writing for. You need to understand their needs, preferences, pain points, and motivations. I know last week when Mr. Sebastian was here, when Mr. Sebastian was teaching you guys, he covered audience, didn't he? He covered learning about your audience and the way to structure it. So I'm just taking points from there, right? So you also need to know how they consume their media. You also need to know also need to know how they consume the media you're writing for and what kind of action you want them to take. This will help you craft a clear, relevant, and persuasive message that resonates with them and meets your objectives. The most crucial aspects of writing copy for different media is researching your audience, identifying who you're writing for. So, researching your audience is the full part. Target audience and buyer persona. This is all there. Know your audience. So, you guys have expo from there. Right. So, in researching your audience, you need to identify who you're writing for. Are you writing for men? Are you writing for women? Are you writing for children? Are you writing for working class people? Are you writing for high school students? Are you writing for professors? Are you writing for world leaders? You need to know who your audience is. Your audience informs what you're writing. Understand their problems. Everybody has different problems. Hell, in the same class, the in the same class, all the different sets of people have different problems affecting them. The person coming first has different problems affecting him than the person coming last. All of them have different problems. So you have to understand their problems. If you're writing for a world leader now, we're talking for those that are just coming in, maybe you went to get some water. We are now talking about how to write on different platforms. And when we're talking about writing on different platforms, you have to understand your audience. Am I speaking? Is anybody understanding me? Is anybody understanding me? Is anybody understanding what I'm saying? Sorry, network. Is everybody following along? Is everybody following? Do we all understand what I mean by researching your audience? Knowing your audience is important, because if you don't know who you're writing for, maybe you're writing for yourself. Now, understand their problems. When you understand their problems, you can offer those solutions. If you're writing for people that need new phones, it's an easy market, but you still have to now understand, are those people high-end users? Do they have a lot of money? Do they not have a lot of money? That means you're going to be writing about budget phones, that kind of thing. Remember, copywriting is 80% research and only 20% writing. I've told you people, your second name as writer is researcher. You can't write about something you don't know. You end up making tall tales or telling lies. Now, if you've thoroughly conducted your research, your copy will convert effectively. And what do we mean by conversion? Conversion is simply means them to change into. Do you want them to change into a customer? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to follow your page? Conversion. If you understand your audience, you know what to write about for them. And this doesn't just apply to writing, it applies to every medium. It applies to everything. One skill that you should take out of this is that as a researcher, it applies to a lot of things. If you're trying to find out ways to, let's say, ways to win a prize, let's just use win a prize. You have to do research. What does this thing entail? How do I get there? What am I doing? If you're going somewhere, you need to know, how am I going? Where am I going to? How am I getting there? Those things, research. It's very important as a writer that you research. So when you do your research, you can now effectively write, and then they will convert. Especially for us that are writing sales copy. When you want people to buy something, you have to write it in such a way that removing money from your pocket is not easy. So if the person doesn't do enough to get you to buy it, the work is not done. Take it like this. As a writer, anytime you're trying to buy something, look at what the person is selling and see if they've done enough to get money from you. Don't just give somebody your money, especially as an effective sales writer, a sales copywriter. Don't just buy it. If the person didn't do enough, say, you didn't do enough to earn my money, I'm not giving you my money. That's you as a writer. Leave other people to one side. Let's continue. Dwell on this enough. So first and foremost, you need to know who is going to read or hear your copy. Try to check the media, analyze the commenters' profiles, the best way to know who is contributing the most. Then you need to choose the right words that can influence the audience in the best way. When you know your audience, you know the right things to say to get them where they are going to. This is the economist talking. It's not the economist that is talking, Joe. But get what I'm saying. When you know your audience, you know the right words to use to get them. You guys, it's babes that are here, say. So you people know the right words to use to get what you want. So this is not supposed to be hard. The right words that convert. Yes, now. Of course, making some jokes and using simple words, even sometimes a little impolite words, goes a long way to work. It's going to work if you have to write scripts for teenagers. On the other side, being smart and polite, using classic words and idioms, best works for adults to middle-aged people. It's all about you and your audience. There's no single rule or principle. Let your creativity and courage decide. C'est fini. I have nothing else to add. That one has said it all. Know your medium. The second thing you need to know is the characteristics and limitations of your medium you're writing for. Different media have different requirements for length, format, style, tone, visuals. If you're writing an article, an article on a blog, maybe for sports, it has specific traits that it will follow. Everything has a way it's supposed to go. When you want to break those modes, you can do that too. But for effective writing, you have to follow different lengths. There's different lengths, there's different formats, styles, and tones, and visuals. For example, web copy needs to be concise. scannable, and optimized for search engines and mobile devices. Print copy needs to be catchy, informative, and easy to read. Social media copy needs to be engaging, conversational, and shareable. It has to be funny. One thing that will never fail on social media is funny. Always. See, anything, anywhere you're going, say, wherever you're writing, it has to be funny. I made a joke. You guys are laughing, but you get what I'm saying. It's important. When you are writing, it should be funny. Except when it's not called for. But a good part of the time, a little comedy here and there goes a long way. Now, it's the truth, because like for anything to be catchy, to catch somebody's audience, the easiest way to catch somebody's attention is to make them laugh. Even if it's not a heavy laugh, even if it's just blowing air from their nose. We all know that one. If you blow air from your nose a little bit, yeah, that's it. You've made a joke. You've got their attention. You have it for a little bit, and then you expand on that. Video and audio copy needs to be compelling and emotional and memorable. That's the truth. It has to be emotional, it has to be compelling, and it has to be memorable. Let's continue. An example of this is an advert for a product, one product, but its copy will be written differently for different mediums. One for print will differ from the one from social media or TV. Knowing the medium requires understanding its unique characteristics and limitations. Each platform has distinct requirements for length, format, style, tone, visual. For example, where web copy should be concise, scannable, all of this. Social media, print copy needs to be attention-grabbing, informative, and reader-friendly. Social media must engage users, spark conversation, and encourage sharing. Video and audio content should be compelling, evoke emotions, and be memorable. By tailoring your copy to fit these specific demands, you ensure it effectively engages your audience across various media channels. So I'm giving you people the code points. I'm giving you guys now the code points for everything you're writing. Wherever you're writing it, everything follows a structure. Copy what works. Before you do your own thing, copy what works. If you're making content on social media, I understand the need to want to be different. But before you build a following, and for you to build a following, copy what works first. In the niche you're dealing in, the place you're playing in, the way you're doing business, copy what works first. Then scatter it and figure out what works for you. But first, copy what works. There's a reason why it works. There's a reason why it's effective. There's a reason. And the best way for you to change the style, is to follow it. Copy it. When you copy a style, you can now understand it. So if you want to, the people that break systems, like when we talk about in the tech world, we talk about the people that put systems to pieces. What's the word again for? Disruptors. The best disruptors are the people who first copy the styles that worked, because they needed to understand it. You don't come and disrupt an industry by first just coming to do your own thing. Nobody will follow you. But first, understand it. Then you can disrupt it. By tailoring your copy to fit specific demands, you ensure it effectively engages. You can be sure it effectively engages with your audience across different and various media channels. Let's continue. Know your purpose. The third thing you need to know is the purpose and goal of your copy. You need to have a clear idea of what you want to achieve with your copy and how you measure its success. Measuring success is very important, because you need to be able to follow how you need to be able to figure out what is working. And to figure out what is working, you have to be able to track it. So aside from research, you have to be also conversant with the data behind your work. If you're a writer, you have to look at how many people have read your article. You have to look at how many people liked your article. You need to know how many people are sharing your article. It's very important. It's your bread and butter. Because if you don't have the right information and you don't know how to measure and know if it's working, you keep doing the same thing, thinking it's working. Just because a lot of people are watching your videos doesn't necessarily mean it's a success. There are other ways to measure success on social media: comments, likes, shares. Hell, the fastest way to know if you're going viral is if more people are sharing than are commenting. It means they are watching it. They didn't really care to tag anybody. They are just like, this is going on my story. This is going to my friends. Shares. If a lot of people are sharing your content, in no time it will go viral, because that's what it means to go viral. It's getting shares. The biggest mistake copywriters make is that they work bottom up, from down up, which means they first write their copy and then decide how their audience should feel. No, go up, down. First decide the emotions that you want your audience to feel and then work backwards from there. If you want people to be angry, the content must first start with something that will get them enraged. Not making people happy and then, that's how it works. So, your purpose ensures clear messaging to inform, persuade, or engage your audience effectively. It helps with relevance. It aligns your message with your audience's needs, capturing their interest and attention. Call to action. Call to actions guide the desired action, whether it's a purchase, a sign up, or sharing of content. Knowing the purpose of it, what are we making this thing for, will explain what people do with it. Consistency maintains a unified brand identity and builds trust with your audience. If you don't know why you're making this thing, there's no consistency. Then people will just, if you keep making inconsistent content, if your writing doesn't match up, that's why we love our favorite authors. There's a consistency in the way they write. Their style doesn't always change, except when they are intentionally trying to change their style. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But a good number of time, there's a consistency, which means you're able to follow what they are writing and you know what they are talking about immediately. Measurement, this is what we talked about, provides benchmarks for tracking success and evaluating effectiveness. This thing is important. Look at your backends. Look at the measure. Check your data. It's important. Ask for feedback. Is this content working? Do you guys like this type of content? If you like this kind, it's the simple tagline on YouTube. If you like this kind of content, please like, share, subscribe. If you don't like it, don't like, share, or subscribe. So we know that the people don't like it. It's as simple as that. La fini. Am I making sense? Let's continue. We're almost done now. See, ego can get in the way of effective copywriting. The only types of questions that should really be at the core of your understanding purpose are, how is this helping them? What about this is helping the audience? How do they already know? What do they already know? What do they want to know? Is it absolutely necessary for them? This last part, is it necessary, is the key. If it is not necessary, there is no real point. Are you telling them things they already know? Or are you giving them a different take on something they already know? What is the use of passing information if it's things everybody already knows? It's not information if everybody knows it. It's just the gist. It's information, but it has no purpose if you're not informing people. That's the first point. Inform. That means you're telling people something about it. Now, you can't tell people something about it if they already know it. But that doesn't mean there's no space to find the parts that you work with. The small parts within something. There's always a little bit of information that not everybody knows. Everybody knows the sky is blue. But does everybody know why the sky is blue? That's your point. That's where you can hit them. And you're like, oh, the sky is blue because it's a reflection of the sun, blah, 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 and the atmosphere blue. You've told them something that they do know, but there's a little bit of information that they do know. This point I've told you here is the importance of, is what keeps social media going. Let's use it like that. Because on social media, you see a lot of people talking about the same thing. But it's not always that there's going to be new information out there. So sometimes you don't have to twist it. Sometimes you don't have to just rephrase it. Sometimes you can give people something different about it. Sometimes you can give them a little bit more information about what they already know by telling them why this thing is the way it is. That's a good way to inspire, to get inspiration. When you're writing about something, like, again, if you're working for somebody, let's go to some nuggets time. If you're working for somebody and they tell you write about this thing, and everybody knows about this thing, but you still have to write about it. Sometimes you have to now look at, why is this thing the way it is? Why is this thing so interesting for everybody? Let's take like some viral content now. Why did this thing go viral? You can talk about it too. If they told you write about this thing, everybody knows it, everybody has seen this thing. Just write about why it went viral. Then you now do your research. You figure out, oh, it went viral because of this. Write about it. You have done your work. If they ask you, oh, write about this song, Megan Thee Stallion. Why did Megan Thee Stallion speaking Japanese go so viral on TikTok? Why? Then you write about it. Oh, it went viral because of this. Oh, what made it so interesting was because it's not normal to see American rappers speak a foreign language. You know what will go very viral? The day, let's use Jay-Z. No, not Jay-Z. Let's use Travis Scott. The day Travis Scott starts speaking Yoruba on a rap, on a song. Like Active. If he started speaking Yoruba on Active, my God, everybody would have been blown away. They'd have been like, oh my God, where did this come from? It happens. So, Demure. Why did Demure go viral? Somebody put it in the comments. Why did Demure go viral? Because it's a word that most people don't use. And it sounds so sweet to use, especially when you put it in that flow. You get? Backstory is part of writing. Everything comes within everything. That didn't make any sense. Just ignore that part. I don't know. Everything comes from something, and something comes from everything. So know how you stitch your work together. I'm telling you about the menial parts of the job that come, because sometimes you won't be writing about the fantastical parts of life. Sometimes you'll be writing about the very mundane parts of life. And I won't lie to you, as a writer, your ability to turn the mundane into the fanciful, you will make money for the rest of your life. Demure, that word demure, if we break it down, it is a very mundane word, very cutesy, very mindful. It is a mundane word. They just stitched together very normal words, and then they added a little fanciful word at the end of it. Demure. We know what cute is. We know what mindful is. They just added demure at the end of it, and before you know it, it has gone. They turned the mundane into the fanciful. And like I said, as a writer, turning the mundane into the fanciful is your bread and butter. If you can do that, life will be easy for you and you'll be able to do a lot. So let's continue. We're almost at the end now. I'm going to break into your question and answer time a little bit. Know your voice. And this is the most important part as a writer. We've talked about writing styles. Now, writing style, if you remember what I talked about, writing style comes from the writer's personality. I remember telling you I remember telling you guys a quote, and the quote went, we come to an author's work to read their work. In the end, we come out learning more about them. As a writer, when you write, the audience should know more about you without you telling them who you are. You don't have to outrightly tell them what you stand for in your writing. So that comes from knowing your own voice. And the only way to know your own voice is to understand yourself. You have to, when you're writing, you have to start asking yourself this question: is this something I would say? Look at it. The fourth thing you need to know is the voice and tone of your copy. Your voice is the personality and identity behind the identity of your brand or business that you express through your copy. Your tone is the attitude and emotion that you convey through your copy, depending on the context and situation. You need to have a consistent and decisive voice that reflects your values and vision, and a flexible and appropriate tone that matches your audience, medium, and purpose. Shikena. Let me explain, because that's just a lot of words. Your tone is the attitude and the emotion that you convey through your copy. We talked about writing tones. We talked about the different tones that we have in writing. So depending on the context and situation, you need to have a consistent and distinctive voice that can cut through the noise. It has to reflect your values and vision. I remember telling you guys, I don't have to tell you how I feel about something for you to read what I wrote about it and know, okay, this is how this guy feels about it. It seems very outside of it, but that's it. As a writer, you can't just be so straight to the point. You can't just be, what's the English? You can't just be so open. You have to be vague sometimes. Keep some mystery for yourself. Don't let everybody know who you are immediately. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's it. You have to be vague about things sometimes so that people can infer. When people infer, they come to their own conclusions. And that's the best thing for you as a writer sometimes. Let everybody else come to their own conclusion. You just continue on your way, right? Because that inspires conversation. If everybody has different conclusions about how you ended your book, maybe you didn't end it on a cliffhanger, you ended it, everything is covered. But they're like, hi, this thing didn't end like this. This thing, you can write part 2 from all the discussions everybody else has had. So it's important. Let people be able to draw their own conclusions at time. Be open-ended. That's the meaning. Except when the person in charge of it is like, yo, bro, don't be open-ended. Tell them this is the answer and be on your way. Then that's it. Don't let anyone know you as a writer. It's important that people should know you, but don't just go outright and tell them who you are. Let them be able to infer who you are from how you write, your tone, and your attitude. You get? My attitude towards a certain president will tell you if I like him or not. If I make jokes at the person's expense, you know I don't like the person, even though I'm making jokes and I seem friendly. That's an obvious way to know if somebody likes you or not. If they're making jokes at your expense, they're demeaning you, but they're doing it in a funny way and they're laughing, but it's like, it's not that serious. It is, but they're just covering it. See? So, understanding your voice is essential. Here's why. Understanding your voice builds consistency, your brand recognition, and trust by maintaining a consistent personality across all platforms. Even though you're writing differently for different platforms, if you know your voice, everybody will be able to see that, oh, yeah, it's this person that is here. We know. Do you get? We know who it is. Like this person, he's on Instagram, Kagan Tech. Kagan Tech can talk about different topics, but there's one way he talks that you will know it's him. Even if you're not really hearing it, even if you're reading it, the way he puts his word structure together will tell you, oh, this is how this guy, this is who this person is. That's what he's talking about. You know who it is. Audience connection. It allows you to speak directly to your target audience in a way that resonates with them. I just told you about Kagan now. The way he talks allows his audience to know, oh, he's not some highbrow guy that studied in Canada or something. He learned tech here in Nigeria and he's really funny. Even though sometimes all of his jokes don't land. But he's still a funny person. And that's how the audience will connect with him. Anytime you're writing, your audience needs to be connected to you. This person, Fisayo Fusodo. Yeah, Fisayo Fusodo. He's a content creator on YouTube. and he writes. He works with great writers on his YouTube page, and they've been able to craft his voice in such a way that anybody can come and write for him, and they'll know exactly how to put it together and to still sound like him. It builds a connection. You have to build a connection with your audience. Now, differentiation. A distinct voice sets you apart from your competitors and creates a unique brand identity. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about with Kagan Tech and Fisayo Fisodo, go and watch the two of them on YouTube or on Instagram. They talk about a lot of the same things, but the way they talk about it is completely different. But you understand exactly what they're talking about. But they're in two different ways. They've identified their voice. They know how they're going to build a connection with their audience. They know how their audience thinks. So they put it out there for them in the way they know their audience will take it. Look at this. Content appropriateness. Tailoring your voice to each platform ensures that your content fits the context and expectations of the audience. C'est fini? La fini? Do we understand? 5. Brand values alignment. This thing has not finished. I finished. Almost there. Brand values alignment. Align your voice with your brand's values, reinforces loyalty, and strengthens your brand identity. Adapt your tone to each medium. If you're on TikTok, do short form content, make it funny, maybe do a dance. That's how it works. Are you going to find the same audience on Instagram as on TikTok? No. Maybe you need to start making 2 different kinds of content on Instagram and TikTok. Create the scripts having in mind the different business personas, the different personas all the time. This is why we talked about knowing your buyer persona. Who are we selling to? It's very important. This is the last one. This is the last one. We've been here for quite some time, haven't we? All right. This is the last one. What's going on? Know your style. That's it. My mouse is fighting with me. It's like it really wants to call it a day. Know your style. The 5th and final thing you need to know is style and grammar of your copy. Your style is the way you use your words, sentences, punctuation. We've done this. We know these parts. Sentence, punctuation, and formatting to communicate your message. Your grammar is the set rules and conventions that govern the language. You need to have a clear and coherent style that follows the standards and expectations of your medium and industry, and a correct and error-free grammar that enhances your credibility and clarity. Editing your copy to a style is key to creating something that works on each media platform. Traditional media or print media might require you to follow the AP style. Social media works best when it's written as if you're talking one-on-one, while video and audio needs to be digestible and entertaining. Know your style. Let's look at the final bit. With AI being used by everyone, be mindful that having it edit your works only works if you have trained it to do it in the style you want to use that for that particular style of copy. Is a warning about AI. AI is general, so make sure you tailor your work so that when there's edits going on, you follow it and know, oh, does this work, does this not work? Because it's a general thing. Consistency. Knowing your style maintains brand identity, trust, audience appeal, platform appropriateness. All of these things, they are key. Knowing your style builds your brand personality. The style reflects brand values, reinforcing identity and differentiation, visual consistency, flexibility. See, if we keep talking, we'll talk from now till tomorrow. But we've had a very deep explanation of what is going on. Right? Is everybody following? Let me know if everybody is following, because this is it. We've explained this thing to its biggest format. Now, I hope you guys understand what it means to write on different platforms. I've given you some keys. I've not fully outright told you just if it's this platform, write exactly like this. But I have told you this platform determines this platform. This platform determines this. This platform wants it like this. Right? Is everybody following? Because now we have come to the end of our class. I've chopped inside your question and answer time. You guys can meet me next week to collect it back. Let's go. Questions and answers. I am ready to answer your questions. And next week, I'm not going to be here. It's Mr. Sebastian that's going to be here with you guys. So, question and answer time. And then 5 minutes before our end of the class, I'll show you guys an article I wrote. Let me put it on now. I'll put on this article I wrote, and then you guys can ask your questions, as many as you like, while we go through what I wrote. Don't even have to ask questions about it. You can just read it and ask your questions. Questions. You're getting it. Yes, please. What's your social media handle? I'll answer this question one day. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So, like, I'm not really going to explain it. You can just read. If you can read it, read it. I don't even know why it's here, to be honest. Okay, so let's be answering questions, then we'll talk about what is on the other side. So my question is, as a newbie in the space, what platform is best to start writing on? And that is, what platform can I start writing on? You want to start writing, like I said, just go to WordPress, Google WordPress, open a WordPress site, start writing there, send to your friends, build your confidence, and then start, creating for everybody. So this is the kind of, okay, yes, this was not formatted for this class. I just pulled it out of my portfolio. We'll talk about that later. But I don't even know if you guys can read it because it looks like it's kind of small. It is. Yeah. No, let's just go back. I'll bring this one back next week. Next time I'm coming, I'll bring this one back. Let's just keep the questions coming. How can we research as writers? What platforms can be explored? This is a very good question. If you want to do your research, your best friend is Google. Google. Then read some books, read magazines, read articles. It's important. Read articles, read magazines. As a writer, it is very important that you read and study. So Google it, watch a YouTube video, go back, ask your friends. It's even important to ask people for information. It's very important to ask people for information. When you want to put definitions of some words in your writing, do you copy the definition word for word, or you can switch it up? You can switch it up. Sometimes the definition might be very complicated, so just simplify it. Again, when you're writing for an audience, it's sometimes best that, depending on how the audience is, if you're writing for professionals now, increase the word count, make sure it sounds very wordy and bold. But if you're writing for just the general audience, make it simple to understand. Let's keep the questions coming. How do I optimize my writing for search engines? We're going to talk about that. I think next week, you guys are going to go into search engine optimization, if I'm not wrong. But the best way to do it for search engine optimization, let me give you some broad strokes. Make sure that your content is also straight to the point. Make sure whatever you're writing about is usually a question, because people search questions online. Do you get? So even if you want to talk about something, what is this thing? Why is this thing the way it is? Where is this thing from? And then answer the question. It's important. There are a lot of other things. There are a lot of other intricacies that we'll go into, but let's not overload you guys. We've just learned about storytelling techniques and how to write on other platforms. Let's leave other topics down the line. Is WordPress an app? Is WordPress an app that can be? Yes, it can be downloaded. I have the app on my phone. Just go to the search for it on your App Store or your Play Store. It's a good one. Which social media handles can I write on as a first timer? Well, social media handles are people's like names on social media. What you're talking about is social media platform. Go on Twitter, write as much as you like. If people start engaging with you, engage with them back. It's very important. Right. You can even write on Instagram, put long captions. There's this page I follow on Instagram, it's a football channel. They are called Verses. So I know the person is not a rapper, but that person that's writing those captions is a rapper. I can't explain it, but the way he puts those captions down, you'll be like, Kai, what you get, the word choice, the flow, the cadence, it's all there. It's all there for you to see. So yeah, you can write on Instagram. Drop your social. Let's continue. What style of writing should I use for church or gospel music content? This is a good one. I've never really thought about that. Uplifting content. Let it be, keeping people happy. There should be some truth telling in it. If you're writing for the church, there should be truth involved in it. Don't lie to people. Please, do we have a brief summary of today's lesson? A brief summary of today's lesson is, for storytelling techniques, your central plot is important. Your characters should be mirrors and not windows. Don't let people see through your characters. If they can see through your characters, that means they are obvious. They should be multifaceted. Your plot is the backbone of your what you're writing about. What else did we talk about for storytelling techniques? On the fly. Let's talk about writing for different platforms. Know your audience, research, know your voice, know your style, know what platform and medium you're writing on, and know what they require of you. Do research, copy what works. If you don't learn anything yourself from this class, copy what works. Copy other people first. If you want to disrupt an industry, start copying them so you can understand what they are doing. Then you can see what they are doing wrong and then do it right. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for yes. You're very welcome. Taiwo Sani, you're very welcome for today's class. Please, can you explain more about consistency? Even if I'm writing on different platforms, even if you're writing about different platforms and different things, your voice is what keeps you consistent. When you write in a certain tone, the way you attack certain topics, you will have a consistent voice throughout, so you can then manipulate it to fit onto different platforms. How can we have a blog? You have a blog, go to WordPress. WordPress is a great place to start a blog. You can go to Wix, then you can start from there. But I think WordPress is a good place to start. It's free. Then you can, when you've built a following, you can go on to easier, better things. We mentioned a lot of AI tools. You mentioned a lot of AI tools as a writer you can use, which I'm guessing you want to know which ones. Grammarly is the best one to start with. Then maybe look at Quillbot. That's a good one too. Those two, they are your good friends as writers. Then ChatGPT is a good way to get ideas. Sir, can we use hyperlinks when writing? Hyperlinks, somebody just brought that up. That is a good way for search engine optimization. Hyperlinks, embedding links. It's a good way to create page bounce. Page bounce? I've forgotten the term. Back page bouncing is a term used in search engine optimization, but we're not at search engine optimization. But hyperlinks, embedding links, it's a good way to also, you can highlight another writer. Oh, this person wrote this article. I've linked his article. You can read it. They'll still come back to your own. You read the person's own. Everybody's, it's good. Share the love. What platform is best for godly write-up contents and inspiration using Canva Twitter structure? You've answered it. You've really answered it. Go to Twitter. Right. There's a lot of Christian people on Twitter. They'll follow your work. Instagram. A lot of ministers are on Instagram too. Not just Christian ministers, also Muslim ministers on Twitter, Instagram. Social media is a very broad place. What websites can I get books for books or articles to read from. Ooh, this one is a different one. What articles? It depends on what you're reading. Just Google stuff you like. Me, I like football, so football is widely available for me. Just Google Sky Sports. Google what you like, and then see what comes up. What's the difference between imagination and assumption in content writing? Imagination is the one you come up with of your own volition, just out of the top of your head. Assumption is kind of like imagination, but you're assuming it to be true or right when possibly it's not right. Imagination, you don't care whether it's true or not. Do you get? It's your imagination, but with an assumption, you're assuming it to be true, even though it possibly might not be true. Where can I get writing jobs online? At the end of this course, you will, at least one of our last topics we cover, you will get a lot from it. And today's lesson was very demure and very mind. Thank you very much. You're very cutesy too. You're very demure, very mindful. How can I understand my tone and voice? Practice, write a lot. Your tone comes out through practice. You begin to understand what you like to write about when you write about a lot of things. Is anybody doing the journaling assignment? It's not an assignment, but is anybody taking up journaling? I told you guys, write about your day. It's a good way to start learning about yourself. What's the best video editing app that you can recommend apart from CapCut? See, CapCut is a godsend, especially when you're editing vertical videos from your phone. Just use CapCut. Forget about those other ones. But if you're using a laptop, there is DaVinci Resolve, there is Adobe Premiere, but leave those ones first. Just use CapCut on your phone first. Please, what's the difference between script writing and content writing? Content writing deals with, most of the time, writing content online, content on different websites. It's a very good place to just write. Script writing it's writing for a medium that people are either going to see, hear, or listen to. There's usually a narrative, there's going to be a drama, there's going to be a full story. Sometimes you might write content, but the content isn't really telling the story. Where can I get writing jobs online? Don't worry. Learn the course first, then go and look for jobs. The jobs will come safe. Don't worry. But improve as a writer. The first thing you should look for as a writer. Improve. Showcase your talents. Start a blog. Okay, so like before we go, let's all remember to check out the LMS platform. And check out the canvas and take the attendance. The question and answer session is also a good attendance place for taking attendance. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. It has been a wonderful class. I've had fun teaching you guys. You guys are the best. Really, you guys are the best. You guys are awesome, fantastic, incredible people. Thank you. I can't just say thank you enough. You guys are incredible. You guys keep me coming back to teach you guys. Teaching you guys is really fun. I've had a lot of time, teaching you guys. It's been fun. It's been great, but our time is far spent. I'd like to say thank you once again. You guys are the best. You guys are incredible. Writing on Instagram requires pics. How do we go about it? Just take a picture on Instagram. Take pictures. Anyone you like. InShot is a great app for picture and video editing. Yes, it is. I have not used it, but I know good few number of people that use it. May I use CapCut like everybody else? I follow the trends. I copy the trends. When I figured out CapCut, maybe I'll now go and start my own. But for now, thank you. Thank you very much. Class is almost over. You guys have been great. Thank you. Sir, please, can you teach us next week as well? No. That's why Mr. Sebastian is there too. He's also here to teach you guys as well. There's no assignment, not yet. You will see your assignment appear on the LMS platform. That's why everybody should be on the LMS platform. You guys are welcome. Thank you very much to this thing. God bless you too. You're very welcome. Thank you. Again, like I said, I've had a great time teaching you guys. It's been really fun. It has been it's been really fun, like I said. No, thanks, Mr. Was the assignment will come. I'm not giving it away now. The assignment will come. You guys are very welcome. You guys are very welcome. Do you necessarily need to know how to write content before you can write content? No, just start writing. But isn't that why you're here? Like, you're here to learn, right? Learn about writing, learn about different kinds of content, learn about different platforms, and then go out into the world and write. Write. It's your God-given right to write. God, why did I make that joke? I was hearing it in my head and I was saying it and I was like, don't, but I still said it. Yeah, you guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. It has been wonderful. Thank you. You guys are incredible. It's been a blast. But even me, I have to go. I've got 101 things to do tonight anyway. You guys enjoy the rest of your nights. Read up on what we've talked about. Do your own research. If there's anything you're not familiar with, go back to watch this video. It's on YouTube. Thank you so much. You guys have been incredible, excellent, amazing, wonderful, impressive, excellent learners. I'll tell Mr. Sebastian to slow it down a little bit, but there's a very limited time, so he has to go through a lot as well. You guys should drop your social media handles on your so that everybody can follow everybody. Is that not it? Let everybody follow everybody in the class. You guys are so great, so great, so great. I've had a wonderful time teaching you guys. Thank you. Bye. Bye. See you guys some next upper week or the week after that. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed the session and I hope you understood everything. Mr. Dipo did an excellent job. Thank you, Mr. Dipo. So, onboarding on the learning management system, Canva by Instructure, is very important. As from next week, all classes will be held on the LMS. Your attendance will be taken on the LMS as well, and all assignments will be done on the LMS. Quizzes will be taken on the LMS. Grading of assignments and quizzes will be done on the LMS. So, if you have not yet onboarded the LMS, kindly do so before the end of this week. It is very essential. It is important for your grading and assessment in this course, in this training. Thank you so much. Have a restful night. Bye.